Hello and welcome to the This Calls for Confetti YouTube channel. I am Karen and I am the Everything Over It a Little Kinder. Today we are going to jump in and make a Father's Day card using the new Sasquatch collection and the retro stripe stencils. I thought this would be a super fun and maybe a little different Father's Day card. We are going to ink blend our own background in this card, and we are going to use the adorable Sasquatch stamped images. So to start, I am going to use the arched piece from the retro stripe stencils as my shape. Then we're going to place the stripe making stencil over the arch and secure it with a piece of light tack tape. Now, this is where it gets really fun, and this is where this stencil set is ingenious. Do you see that stencil that's on the very top? It's actually masking off for me the sections that I am not wanting to color. This is pure genius. No more pulling out all of the tapes, sticking things down, unsticking them. This piece is fantastic. The way that Lisa has created this is truly with a card maker in mind. So all I'm going to do here is wipe off my stencil because I don't want this color ink in my next section. I will say I do find later that it is much easier to wipe this off before I pull it up off of my sticky mat to do the next color. So we are just going to work our way through. I am using regular distress ink to do this. I have ice spruce, bundled sage, peeled paint, forest moss, and the brand new scorched timber as my color palette. I'm going to make some custom blends while we do this, where I'm kind of creating a different shade or tint by adding in one of the colors from above. I thought this was a really fun way to expand my color palette from the colors that I have. So just grabbing that ink, here I am wiping it off. Again, I found it much easier to clean off the stencil while it was in place rather than trying to pull it and clean it elsewhere. So we're just going to continue down the card adding color. We've moved to the forest moss color here. This is going to be the darkest green that we use. And to get a shade darker than that for our very last section, we are going to add some of that scorched timber into it. So we're just going to go back and make this really dark and really solid by going over it a few times. One of the tips that I like to give when you're ink blending is you don't have to press down hard to get the ink to deposit onto the paper. It's more about the number of times that you go over the paper. For my distressed scorched timber ink, I am using a foam dome blender. I go back and forth. I like both the brush and the foam dome. This one I like specifically when I'm going to go around the edge of something. It's just a little bit softer than it would be otherwise. So now that we've made our background, we are going to trim this out of the card base so that it's a freestanding element for us. So I'm just using a pair of shorter snips to get that cut out. And now we're going to audition our coloring. So I did color this little guy in two different colorways, one that was a little more coppery and one that was a little more brown. And we are going to mat this on some of this chocolate brown paper. For this, we are going to use a regular A2 card base that I've just taken my bone folder and crisped up that edge. Then I'm going to cut this just the tiniest little bit smaller than the card base. I think it's about 1/8 of an inch shorter. So I have picked up a piece of sandpaper and I am going to distress the edges of this card with the sandpaper. This will allow it to lay flatter than using the paper scraper. Adding our background to our card, and now we're going to come in and use that paper scraper tool to distress our arched piece. This is going to give us a little more dimension than our background that we have stuck down. Now we're going to get that adhered to our card and ready to go. Let's make sure that we get it good and centered up so that it is equal on all of the sides. And we're going to add some square foam dimensionals to the back of our cute little Sasquatch that we colored. And he's going to go into the lower right hand corner, giving us plenty of room in that upper left hand corner to add our sentiment. Just a fun little detail is some pin lines around the edge of the arch. And we're going to use a 2 1/4 inch circle punch and a 2-inch circle punch to make our circles that our sentiment is going to go on. Because this is stark white paper, I did decide to ink blend my 2-inch circle using iced spruce. This just gives it a little bit of color to stand out against our background. So we're going to add with the scorched timber brown color the words "the man, the myth, the legend." Here I am inking it up and checking to make sure that I have good ink on the back of my stamps. That is just good practice for anyone. And we're going to use the cute little star cluster stamp in this stamp set to create a printed background. So kind of think pattern paper, but we made it. The next step is going to be to use our sanding tool to sand that brown square, and then we use the scraper tool to do our title square. We're going to take the scraper tool across the edge of our card there so that it doesn't look so chopped off. We did put that 2-inch square up on foam, and here we're going to heat emboss. So I am going to use the It's No Secret anti-static powder to create a safe background so that none of this embossing powder sticks anywhere but where I want it to. So I am using a gold embossing powder, and we're going to heat this. I do like to heat from the front and the back. I find that it gets heated through and through faster, especially in the summer months when I have the air conditioning on. Next step is just to trim out this Happy Father's Day piece and give it a little bit of a angled there at the end like a banner. I've put a little bit of foam tape on the end as well as a liquid glue to stick this down to my card front. The next step is going to be trim off the excess and add some bling. I am using the Dusty Gold, a beautiful old gold color, to finish off my card. Thank you so much for being with me today here on the This Calls for Confetti channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you know when our next video is up. Thank you again. Bye-bye.